and welcome to 6th, 7th and 8th channel of BYJU'S. I'm your teacher Ankita and I welcome you in today's class where we will be discussing about a very important chapter from class 8 and the name of the chapter is Microorganism. And this is a very important class because it's a crash course class and most importantly we will be discussing about this whole chapter just under 20 minutes. So I hope that all of you are ready with your pen and your notebook so that you can note down all the important points that we will be discussing in today's class. And if you're new here, please do take a moment and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel because only on BYJU'S channel we are making sure that you excel and ace your examination. So we have launched the crash course in which we will be completing your whole syllabus. We have chapter summaries under 20 minutes. We'll be focusing on the subjective and the objective questions. We have mind map, doubt solving, and so much more. And most importantly, we will be having BYJU'S mock test so that you're ready for your examination. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join our amazing family. And on that note, let's get started. This is a very important chapter from the exam point of view. And when we discuss about the microorganisms, whether they are friends or they are foe, we can broadly categorize this chapter under the three important subdivisions. It's very important for us to break the chapter so that we know what we have to study and we can easily plan our study. So here we have first part, which is the classification of microbes. Then we have beneficial uses of microbes, and then we have harmful effects of microbes. So we are starting with the first one, which is the classification, and here we go. So in the classification, we will be discussing about the different types of microorganisms we have around us. The first one, of course, we have the bacteria. Now, bacteria are, of course, we say that they are everywhere, and bacteria are very, very crucial for all of us. Now, in the bacteria present in a different shape and different size, so we have bacilli, we have cocci, we have vibrio, right, the comma shape, then we have the spirula. Now, of course, these are the different shapes of the bacteria. Now, one of the common ones I'm sure you all know is the lactobacillus, which is also a bacteria. So, bacteria are there. Then, of course, the next one that we'll be discussing are the fungi. Now, over here, one of the common example in the fungi is the yeast and the mushrooms. Interesting, right? Then, of course, we have another category, which is the protozoa. Now, over here, we have amoeba and paramecium as the examples. Then, we have the algae, where, of course, we have the Clydomonas and the great kelp, right? And the last, but not the least, which is virus. Now, viruses are not the living, right? They're not living outside the human body, but they're living inside the host body of the human body. So, the category of the virus is still a kind of, in between. We don't call them as living organisms altogether, and we can't call them as non-living also. They are non-living outside the body of the host, and they are living inside the body of the host. And one of the common example, of course, when we discuss in the terms of the virus, we have the common cold, right? So these are the few examples that we have. And common cold is a very common disease caused by the virus, right? So these are the different categories of the microbes that we have. We have bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and the virus. Now that we're done with the first part of it, we'll be looking at the second part of this particular chapter, which deals about the beneficial uses of the microbes. So microbes are really very helpful to us. And we'll be discussing about how they help us in different areas throughout our life. First, of course, we'll be discussing in detail about the food production. So we have various microorganisms that actually help in the food production. Now, of course, in our dairy products, we have already discussed about the lactose bacilli, right? Of course, this actually helps in the formation of the curd. And we have other bacteria that actually help in the, in the process of making cheese. Then, of course, we have the yummy desserts that we have. Definitely, we have various microorganisms playing a very important role over here, right? Then, of course, we have the alcoholic beverages like wine, right? There also we have the yeast, another microorganism that plays a very important role. And of course, we have the vinegar. So in all of these food and different other products that we have over here and different products that are available in the market, microorganisms plays a very important role in the manufacturing of these. So they are actually very, very helpful. Moving ahead, let's discuss about another important category, that is of the antibiotics. Now, antibiotics were first discovered, of course, as we say, by Alexander Fleming, right, in the 1929. And what he did, he actually discovered the penicillin, the first antibiotic. Now, it is a fungi. So there's a story which goes by that, he was working and he, on a petri dish, there was a culture of the bacteria. And after a few days, he saw that, there's a growth of something new on the petri dish, which is actually stopping the growth of the bacteria from moving from that particular place. So then, of course, he figured it out that it's a penicillin. And this is actually antibiotic. It means that it's stopping the growth or it's restricting the growth of the bacteria. It's antibiotic. So we know that the first antibiotic was penicillin, and of course now we have different types of antibiotic that are available in the market, which of course we consume, right? And we take it only when a doctor prescribes to us, doctor tells us to eat, and there's a perfect doses of. We don't take the overdose because it will not be helpful for the body. Now definitely it is useful if the doctor prescribes, and of course, if you take in a right amount of doses which doctor have said us to take. Now they will be helping in fighting the bacteria which are there in the body and will be helping in becoming healthy again. But just in case, if you're not following doctor instruction and if we are consuming more of it, what will happen? It will be harming our body. Apart from that, the bacteria will become resistant, right? So one tablet can kill a certain amount of bacteria. If we keep on taking that one tablet, maybe the bacteria will feel, we can have the resistance. And maybe we have to increase the doses to fight those bacteria. So they become resistant towards that particular antibiotics. So we have to make sure that we are not taking them in a large quantity. We should be taking them as in terms of the doctor prescriptions only. So this is really very important point. So this is a very important 2 marks question or a 3 marks question that can come. Apart from that, the previous topic which we have on food production is equally important. So please make sure to note all the important points there also. So we have discussed about the food production, antibiotics. Now let's discuss about a very, very important topic which usually comes in your examination, that is of the vaccine. So let's understand how we have the vaccines. So the vaccine was first discovered by the Edward Jenner, right, in the year 1798. And of course, from there only, we have the vaccination. So in the vaccination, what we have, it's nothing but a fluid, right, a serum liquid, which contain either the dead microorganisms or the weakened microorganisms that will be getting injected into the individual, right? And as it gets into the individual's body, it will have a defense mechanism. So as it enters the body of the individual, the white blood cells in the human body will start fighting it. As it is dead or the weak, right, it will not be having that harmful effect on the body of the individual. The individual might have some reactions to it, right? Maybe a fever, right, and other few symptoms will be there. But what will happen? The bodies will be identifying it and there will be the creation of memory cells that goes into our mind. Next time, when a live pathogen enters in the body of the individual, they can easily fight. So that's why vaccination becomes really very important. And there are 2 modes of taking these vaccines, or basically these all the microbes in the body that will be helping us to have our immunity. First, of course, by the injection, directly injecting the injections, or by the oral vaccine. By both of these methods, what is happening? We are taking a small amount of the dead or the weak microbes or microorganisms in our body. Our body will be creating a defense mechanism and there will be a cells that will stay in our body. Next time, if these microorganisms, living microorganisms attacks our body, we have a defense mechanism already intact within our body and they will be helping fighting the living organism. That's how our body immune system works. So this is really important, can be asked in the examination. How the vaccines work and why they're important. 3 marks question, please take a note of it. Now let's discuss about the different types of vaccines we have, right? And the diseases that provide the protection against. So we have tuberculosis, right? We have cholera, of course, hepatitis and measles. So I'm sure when you were younger, I'm sure you would have taken the vaccines for the hepatitis and the measles, right? And so in the future, just in case if we, encounter them again, our body will not have that adverse effect. This is really very important. So till now, we have discussed about the beneficial uses of microbes that are definitely very beneficial for all of us. They help in the food production, right? They help in the food production, in the antibiotics, vaccine. Now let's discuss about the environment. Now environment, right? It sound very different. Let's see how the microorganisms are helping. So first of all, they actually help in the process of decomposition. They actually help in cleaning out, right, the dead and decay matter. So decomposition becomes really very important in our environment, and this is very, very important for all of us. Decomposition actually help in clearing out the dead materials, right? And over here, we have an activity that will be helping us to understand the decomposition. So in one jar, of course, in one jar we have the living material. Basically, we have the waste of the plants, right, vegetable peels, and on the beaker B we have the plastic. Eventually, we know that microorganisms will be able to only act on this, right, this material, the vegetables, the vegetable peels, the fruit peels, the leaves, right, or the dead organisms, and we will see it will getting decomposed, right? Whereas the plastic, of course, will remain unaffected by the microorganisms. So this is really very important to actually help in clearing out our environment. Apart from that, it actually adds a lot of nutrition back to the soil. So decomposition becomes really very important, and we have the microorganisms to thank for. Then microorganisms help in a very, very important process, which is the nitrogen cycle. Now, nitrogen cycle is really interesting and super important from the exam point of view also. So we know that we all need nitrogen, and nitrogen is there in our atmosphere in a huge amount, but still we cannot take the nitrogen directly. Nor us, nor plants, nor any living organism. But nitrogen is really very important. So how we are getting the nitrogen? Let's understand that. So we have the atmospheric nitrogen. The plants cannot directly take it, right? Of course, they will be taking it with the help, of course, of the various microorganisms. And of course, there are different steps altogether. So the atmospheric nitrogen, right? Of course, we'll see the fixation of the nitrogen. It will be moving into the soil. And of course, we have the bacteria over there that will be helping in breakdown of it to the ammonia, then of course to the nitrate and nitrate. And further, then only it will be getting absorbed by the plants, and hence they have the nitrogen. And if we consume plants or any other animals consume plants, they'll get the nitrogen. And of course, the remaining will be going back into the atmosphere. So here we have the important steps. We have the atmospheric nitrogen, then we'll see the nitrogen fixation, ammonification, right? Then we have nitrification, and at the end we have the denitrification. So it's a very important concept. Please make sure you take a note of it, and please make sure you read from your textbook that what are the steps and how you have to write in your examination. It's very, very important, so please make sure you are studying it separately. On that note, let's move ahead, right? So we have discussed as of now about the classification of microbes, and we have discussed about the beneficial uses of microbes. Now we are left with one of the last topic, which is the harmful effects of microbes, and let's discuss about that. So we know that microorganisms causes various diseases. And when we talk about the diseases, we will be discussing about the human disease first, and then of course the disease in plants and the animal. And human diseases, let's discuss about what are the modes of transmission. So there are different modes of transmission that we have in terms of the medium that the microorganism using from moving from the infected individual to the healthy individual. So of course we have the airborne disease, right? Airborne, in the air. So if a person who is carrying a virus, right, if they sneeze or if they cough, the droplets will be carrying that particular virus in the air. And if we have a healthy individual in that surrounding, if they inhale or if they get, if they get this droplet on their body, and of course it gets inside their body, they might get the disease. So the air is a very important medium. Then of course the water. So various microorganisms use water as a medium of the transportation, right? Then we have the vector. Now in this particular case, these vector will be carrying the particular pathogen, right, from one individual, from the affected individual to the healthy individual. Then we have the foodborne disease, of course, where the food, if there's a contamination of the food, right? For example, we have this fly, right? If the fly sits on a various waste material and the feces, right? And if it comes from there and it collects the various pathogens, and if that particular sits on a food, and if we consume that food, yes, the healthy person might get infected. So these are the different modes, and the last one is from the surface, right? Formite bond, of course, from the surfaces that we have all around us. Like if there's an infected individual who's touching a surface, and if a healthy individual touches it, there are chances that we can transfer the disease. In terms of the clothes also, it can easily move from the infected individual to the healthy individual. So here what we have is a different mode of transmission. Now we'll be discussing in details of the types of diseases we have. So we have the communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. As the word is there, communicable disease, these move from one individual, from the infected individual to the healthy individual. So we have airborne disease examples. We have common cold, COVID. In waterborne disease, we have typhoid and cholera. Vector-borne disease, we have malaria and dengue. So the vector is over here is the mosquito, but inside that mosquito we have the pathogens that will be causing the malaria and the dengue. Then we have the formite borne, we have the chicken pox and the influenza. Then of course we have the non-communicable diseases like asthma and all of these other diseases like heart attack, any issues with the heart. So these diseases are over here. So we are clear with the different types of diseases, and of course we have the examples. Now examples are really very important, so please make sure you remember the examples. Each of these you should remember two examples, because it can come in your examination and it will be helping you to score good marks in your examination also. So we are done with this particular topic where we have discussed about the types of diseases and we have discussed about the human diseases. Now we'll be moving ahead to the animal and the plant diseases. So here we go. We'll discuss about the animal first. So in animals, they also get infected by the various pathogens, and pathogens are the organism that causes disease. So here we have the anthrax, and of course we have the foot and mouth disease in the animals. And in plants we have various diseases, like we have the citrus canker. In citrus, of course, in lemon trees we have rust of wheat in wheat, and we have the yellow veins mosaic of bhindi. So these are the plant diseases that are caused by the various microorganisms. Now we are clear with the animal disease and the plant disease, and now we'll be taking a look at the plasmodium, right, and how it causes the malaria. So we know that malaria is caused by the plasmodium, which is a protozoan, right, and the vector over here is a female Anopheles mosquito. So this particular mosquito, right, when bites a healthy individual, if it's carrying the plasmodium, it will be releasing the plasmodium in the body of the healthy individual, right? They will be going first into the liver cells, right, and of course from there they'll be moving to the red blood cells. So this becomes a really very evident example of the vector-borne diseases. Plasmodium over here is a pathogen, and the vector which is carrying the plasmodium is the female Anopheles mosquito. So do remember these examples. Moving ahead, right, we have this interesting information for all of us to remember. Over here we have the citrus canker disease, citrus plants. It's a bacterial disease. Do remember this also. Then of course we have the yellow mosaic vein, ladyfinger in plants will be able to see this, and it is caused by a virus disease. It's a viral disease. And then we have the rust of wheat. It will see in the wheat, and it is a fungal disease. So we have discussed about the different types of diseases altogether. Now we'll be discussing about that how we can actually prevent, right, and preserve the food. So if you keep the food outside for some time, you will see that it will become spoiled, right? But on a daily basis, we use various food products that are being preserved properly so that we can use. We'll discuss about that, right? There are various methods for the food preservation. So first, of course, we have the chemicals. We add the chemicals so that the shelf life of the products increases and we'll be able to use them after a long time. Then, of course, we have the use of common salt. If we add the salt, of course, we'll see the loss of water. And, of course, as there's a loss of water, we will be able to see that, meat, especially in the terms of meat, it will be easily preserved. Then, of course, we use sugar as a method of preservation, especially in jams, right, especially in jellies altogether. Then, of course, we have the oil and vinegar. I'm sure you would have seen in your family the making of the pickles. Definitely they add the lot of oil and vinegar to make sure that the food products are not getting spoiled and they're preserved for years together. Then we have the heat and cold. This, of course, we see in the milk, right? The milk packet that we get. So there will be the heating of the milk, and then of course there will be a sudden cooling of the milk, and they'll be packed in a Tetra Pak so that they can come to us and we can easily consume them. Then the last one, of course, is the heat and cold, and of course adding the spices all together. So we're here, right? We have it, and of course we use the airtight containers, right? We make sure there's no air inside it, so that actually adds on to a lot. So we have discussed about the methods of the food preservation, and with this particular topic we are done with this interesting and super important chapter. I hope that all of you have taken a note of all the important points that we have discussed. We will be meeting really very soon, but before I go, let me quickly tell you about this, something really very important. You have studied this particular chapter with us, and now it's time for you to test yourself. So in the description box there's a link that will be helping you to test this particular chapter. There are a few questions. Please try to attend those questions, and we'll be discussing these questions in the future classes. So please make sure you take the test. Apart from that, we have an amazing test which is happening at BYJU'S Tuition Center. It's for class 3 to 10. And it's BNSPT, it's BYJU'S National Scholarship Personality Test. The last date, of course, we have it on 4th and the 5th of Feb. Please make sure you register. The registration is absolutely free. And after this test, you will be able to see an amazing report, 15-page academic report that will be helping you to understand about your skill set, your behavior, your subject, and your career analysis. So please make sure to register for this. And on that note, I will end the class. I hope that you've enjoyed the class, and I hope that all of you have taken a note of all the important points that we have discussed. We'll be meeting in the next class. Till that time, please make sure to hit the like button for the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. This is an amazing channel. We'll be meeting really very soon. Till that time, take care of yourself and keep on learning with BYJU'S. Cut!